Hello everyone, this is Will from the Think Different podcast, back again for another quick episode. Recently I have upgraded to Apple One, and one of the reasons why I did that is I wanted to go back on Apple TV Plus because there was a series that just premiered on August 12th, and that is what we're talking about today, 5 Days at Memorial, which is a disaster medical series. It's a mini-series based off of a book from 2013 by Sherry Frink, which is all about how a hospital had thousands of people trapped inside without power for 5 days during Hurricane Katrina. For those who are not aware, Katrina was one of the biggest disasters of all time regarding storms, and a lot of people were homeless, a lot of people were underwater, a lot of people died, and this is just one part of that entire storm. And recently I was actually looking at abandoned places, and one of the things I saw was an abandoned hospital inside New Orleans that still exists today. Even though it's not the same hospital, it was just interesting to hear the stories of these people who were stuck in the storm and left to basically be on their own with no help. And the whole idea of this series is to show that. It stars Vera Farmiga as Dr. Annie Powell. This is a real person that was at this hospital. Sherry Jones, Cornelius Smith Jr. Right now, there are 3 episodes that I watched, and they are doing it by the day of the storm. So day 1, day 2, day 3. It's a 8-part series. So there is going to be days, or it's going to be likely after the storm. So it's very interesting to watch. Now, I was really captivated by this because you're seeing a lot of difficulties, decisions being made about the storm, how they downplayed it, and then when the levees broke and caused massive amount of water to cause a power outage. Now, you think about ICU babies, you think about people who are in critical conditions who are without power, how these people live, and how the nurses and the doctors had to cope with this. And it's been a very interesting series so far. The effects look amazing on it. They do incorporate real footage into the actual series, which I do appreciate them doing that, just to show the power of that storm. I think anything regarding floods are just so interesting, especially how they have to film that. And most of the time it takes place in the hospital. But for me, my performance so far in the first 3 series is Sherry Jones, who plays Susan Muldrick. She is like the head hospital nurse basically, and she's in charge of everyone, and her performance has been tremendous. It looks like the amount of stress that was just on that one person to make sure everybody was safe, and just like the things that you realize you take for granted that didn't work. For example, they had to get all these NICU babies out, and they had a helicopter pad that hasn't been used since 1994, and they have to get this baby inside this box up to there. So it's just been very interesting so far of the series. I really, really like it, and I think people should check it out. I do like series that are based on real events. I think that's so... Obviously, not everything is going to be exactly the way it happened, but it's just really, really interesting to see how they filmed it, incorporating the live footage, and seeing how these people survived. I looked at the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. Right now, they're giving it an 88% thumbs up, and the audience is actually giving it 93%. I think everyone is very much into it. I mean, day 1 all talks about making landfall, and day 2 is all about the patients. They think they made it through, but then the crisis is going to start. And then on top of it, day 3, you start to see the hospital lose power, and then they can't evacuate, and on top of it, people are starting to die. And that's another part of the episode. In the very first shot you see of this mini-series is about a doctor being interviewed on what happened, why are things happening the way they are, and that is what the whole series is about them interviewing these people flashback style and how they are retelling the events. And right now we don't know who they're talking to. We're assuming it's an FBI agent because 45 people died in that hospital, and they almost come across like they're blaming the staff. The staff also is great too, because you could see that there is tension between staff members. You can see how one guy that represents the innocent and the poor, which is what this hospital was. It was more for the low-income people, how they are trying to survive. Meanwhile, you have someone who is more on the rich side and how they believe they should handle patients based on their condition. Their condition almost is the clutch to see if they're going to keep them alive or not, or give them any care. So some of the reviews right now, just still looking at a critic. One critic said it's a stark drama waiting for floodwaters to recede for power and hope to be restored. It shows the collapse of corporate systems and communication structures, which is totally true about this. It's very well made and hard to watch. My wife was watching with me, and she maybe wasn't knowing what I was watching, but she was very intrigued on, especially that we had a NICU baby, and to see, imagine that situation happening for us, it would be, oh my God, it would be crazy. So it is definitely a disaster style film. I think this series is going to be a big for them, and I think they should do more series based on true events. So I would recommend giving this a try. These are only the first 3 episodes from this published date. I might follow up giving the entire series, but I really do appreciate you guys looking at our videos. Check out all the recent content we created, and definitely give this show a watch. If you're not an Apple TV subscriber, I would subscribe to it just to watch this show. I think it's that good. All right, guys, thank you very much, and I love every single one of you.